What is meditation? Meditation is a practice where an individual uses a technique, such as mindfulness, to train attention and awareness and achieve a mentally clear and emotionally calm state. Mindfulness is said to have benefits such as lowering high blood pressure, fighting heart disease, improving focus, relieving anxiety, reducing stress, and helping depression, as well as many other things. While a common misconception of meditation is that you are trying to change yourself to be better, you're actually meant to look within you and realize that what you need is already in there. So does meditation actually help with everything mentioned above? Meditation has been proven to help with at least one of the above, increasing happiness level. But to understand this, we must first understand happiness. What makes us unhappy? The 4 main factors that contribute to unhappiness include pain, boredom, thoughts, and negativity. Scientific studies show that we can alleviate symptoms of psychological distress of stress and burnout, sleep disorders, psoriasis, cardiovascular diseases, fibromyalgia, and chronic pain through meditation. By meditating, we can shift the way we view events or conditions in our lives. Practicing mindfulness can help alleviate these symptoms by creating a wider context for the condition. By taking a step back and properly analyzing our situation instead of focusing on the pain, we can begin to better see and appreciate the things we have around us. Mindfulness meditation trains us so that pain, physical or emotional, does not dominate our waking moments. We start to be aware of the thoughts as thoughts, not as facts, and we begin to be more detached from our thoughts. Through this process, people begin to shift their point of view from I am my pain to my body is experiencing pain, but it is not all of me. This distance that mindfulness trains us to create allows us not to be carried away by our pain, and instead pushes us to properly analyze the situation and see the positive side. It changes our perspective and gives us a more positive outlook on life. This way, we can begin to recognize good things around us despite hardships and truly appreciate and enjoy life more. One example of this is a patient that deals with multiple sclerosis. After going through a mindfulness course, this patient, who used to think of themselves as suffering from MS, changed their point of view and started to say that they lived with MS. This shift in point of view through mindfulness and meditating gave them a more positive outlook on life. This is backed up by a study at Basel University Hospital in Switzerland, which shows that MS patients experienced more vitality and better quality of life and suffered less frequently from depression due to having gone through a mindfulness course. Another example is another study performed at Stress Reduction Clinic at University of Massachusetts Medical Center. They had a 1-year trial phase and engaged in stress reduction courses for chronic pain patients, with up to 30 participants in each class. They all learned to handle their pain in a better way through meditating as a group, and their personal suffering and pain level reduced in intensity and decreased vastly at the end of the course. Another factor in unhappiness in our life is boredom. Because we live with so many pressures of deadlines, illness, physical pain, stress, and many other factors, many people start to begin to see life as flat and colorless and repetitive. This illusion of sameness can lead to one going about their day on autopilot, and as a result not really being present and missing moments in their life, and going through motions with no sense of real connection. This can be overcome, however, by being mindful, truly being in the moment and savoring every moment in life. They will begin to savor life's precious moments and the small things, and get even more out of what they currently have. One example of this is the raising exercise from the mindfulness-based stress reduction program of John Kabat-Zinn. The participants were told to use all 5 of their senses to experience the raisin, examining it closely, feeling it, listening to it, smelling it, and finally tasting it, very slowly and carefully, and exploring its texture and feeling instead of quickly chewing and consuming it. This is done twice, then the 3rd raisin is consumed normally, but the participant is told to notice the difference in how they eat it and the speed they do, or if they are aware that they are even chewing. Many people through this exercise discovered that they had no idea what a raisin looked like, or were completely missing things like the difference of each raisin, or being aware when they chew. Each object in the world is unique, just like each raisin is unique. Through going through this exercise and mindfulness, we can start to see that life isn't boring. Every flower is unique, every raisin is different. We begin to appreciate uniqueness and stop reducing everything to sameness, instead celebrating individuality in people, places, and everyday activities. This changes our perspective to allow us to see how rich our lives actually are. Instead of looking at what we don't have, we look at what we have, no matter how big or small, or the things that we aren't truly experiencing with all of our senses. And once we actually realize this, we can experience it fully. Until you experience this and begin practicing mindfulness, you never know what you really are missing in your life. Thoughts are also a big contributor to our unhappiness. Thoughts such as about stress, worry, problems, drama, regrets and anxiety, emotion, past and future, or rash decisions make up the mess that is in our minds. These stress reactions include physiological, mental, emotional, and behavioral responses that disrupt life. Identifying and understanding and being aware of our habits and stress triggers is a way to better deal with them and alleviate them. This can be done through mindfulness. Mindfulness is about recognizing a thought for what it is and letting it go, which eventually allows us to realize that we are not our thoughts, but we have thoughts. This allows us to take control of our actions and emotions and not be as strongly influenced by our negative thoughts throughout our day. By stepping back from our situation and really analyzing and seeing what is happening around us, we get to understand ourselves better. The main reason for unhappiness is the continuous oscillation of the mind between the past and the future, and between regrets and anxieties, like ripples in the water. Meditation, on the other hand, brings our minds to the present moment by temporarily stopping our thoughts. We think all the time, and our thinking is usually negative, constructive, and can lead to negative emotion. By slowing down thoughts entering our mind through being mindful and being present in the moment, we stop thoughts of regrets and anxieties and ensure that only the present and only happiness will remain. Normally, we are constantly anxious about what will happen next or what happened before. You may worry about a meeting, fear, shame, or anger before anything even happens. And while you are caught up in your worry, you don't get to enjoy your current activity, such as coffee in the morning or your surroundings and the nature around you. Instead, you get caught up in an imaginary world where nothing has happened yet and it's all a figment of your imagination made up of your negative thoughts. Meditation trains you to focus on what is happening right now around you and stop thinking about other moments, what's not there, or how you can improve things, and instead appreciate what you have and what is going on in the present moment. This separation from our thoughts that mindfulness creates also helps with our emotional intelligence and our reaction to our thoughts. By being distanced from thoughts and emotions, we can step back and check ourselves and make sure we don't make any rash decisions or react badly and cause other negative consequences. We are not our emotions, but a separate being, and thus can better analyze and react to immediate emotions. One's normal human response would be fight or flight, to place blame, or to freak out when faced with adversity. Because of pressure that exists in society to solve problems and get rid of unpleasantness as soon as possible, many people blindly react or deny problems and emotions. However, this avoidance creates more unconscious fear and becomes a stress trigger in itself. Mindfulness, on the other hand, teaches us to turn towards the unpleasant and exist with it and analyze it to better live with it. Some examples of meditation, increasing happiness, and slowing down thoughts include a study done by Yale researchers. This study showed that experienced meditators are able to dial down their daydreaming and thoughts. When our minds wander, they usually drift into worry or rumination, so a decrease in these thoughts would lead to less worrying and more joy. Another study done at Harvard also had people who reported being much less happy when their minds were wandering, as opposed to when they were fully engaged in whatever they were doing. Yet another study performed in 1999 by Dr. Davidson and his team involved participants who engaged in an 8-week-long mindfulness-based stress reduction course. Compared with the control group who did not participate in the course, the results showed that those who did participate had a reduction of anxiety symptoms of almost 12%, while the control had only a slight decrease. There was also evidence of the level of left side activation of the prefrontal cortex tripling after 4 months. The course was able to redirect the thoughts and feelings of the participants and reduce the activity in their negative emotion right prefrontal cortex, and instead fuel the positive thought in the left prefrontal cortex, contributing to more joy and more positivity. Which brings us to the next factor in unhappiness, negativity. Negativity can come from many things in life, such as other people's actions or yourself. Low confidence, dissatisfaction, desire. And while meditation already does change our perspectives and give us a more positive point of view, it also trains positive self-talk. It teaches us to learn to love ourselves as who we are. Through meditation, we can analyze ourselves and get to know ourselves. We befriend our current self and see that we are fine the way we are. As mentioned above, we don't have to eliminate anything from our personalities. Instead, we just have to be aware of negative parts so that it does not limit us in what we do. The trick is not to get caught up in avoiding pain and just being comfortable. Through meditation, though we are not trying to change ourselves, we should investigate and be inquisitive. By getting to know ourselves and loving ourselves, we can better show kindness to others and understand the world and be open and in the present moment, instead of trying to avoid being here just as we are. All of this occurs through meditation and mindfulness, instead of trying to get rid of or improve and change ourselves. In reality, ridding the bad parts is useless because our good parts are mixed up with the bad parts, and removing the bad will then also remove the good. One aspect of the mindfulness-based stress reduction from John Kabat-Zinn trains you to be kind to yourself. Kindness is a gift that we seldom give to ourselves, and we think we need to earn it, but give it to others regularly. We bargain with ourselves with kindness as a reward, and think that something is inherently wrong, and are addicted to the idea of self-improvement. Instead, we should accept our inherent goodness and discard the critical attitude that we have towards ourselves, that we often do not notice we have. Meditation also biologically changes you to make you happier. Meditation is the strongest mental practice that has the power to reset your happiness point, your baseline happiness, thus turning you into a more joyful person. Neuroscientist Sarah Lazar's studies also show that maintaining a consistent meditation practice leads to a thickening in a few major areas of the brain, which in turn increases your ability to cope with uncomfortable and difficult situations and stressful occurrences. Lazar's studies showed that the meditation shrinks the amygdala, the part of the brain that controls anxiety and fear. This primal region of the brain associated with fear and emotion is involved in the initiation of the body's response to stress. Less anxiety and fear will lead to less stress and more happiness. Through this, you can quiet the overactive areas of your brain, such as that which becomes overly worried or stressed out, and thicken the areas responsible for joy and pleasure. Lazar's brain scans from the participants of the mindfulness course reveal thickening in the following brain areas: the posterior cingulate, which is the area associated with self-relevance and mind-wandering tendencies; the left hippocampus, involved in memories, cognition, learning, and emotions; and the temporoparietal junction, the area that assists with empathy and compassion. Based on those results, Lazar concluded that including mindfulness and meditation in a daily routine can significantly increase abilities to cope with uncomfortable and difficult situations of life. Another study done by research scientists at UC Davis showed that meditation can lower the amount of cortisol in the body, otherwise known as the stress hormone. Less cortisol leads to less stress and more capacity for joy. Yet another study published by the U.S. National Library of Medicine National Institutes of Health tested 30 medical students to measure their cortisol levels before meditation. The study revealed that just after 4 days of mindful meditation, the students' cortisol levels decreased significantly. Richard Davidson and his colleagues at the University of Wisconsin, along with John Kabat-Zinn, also put a group of stressed biotech employees through the MBSR program. They found that those who completed the program had more activity in the left prefrontal cortex, the happy, calm zone of the brain, than those who didn't do the training. Finally, a study at Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard University also showed that after an 8-week course of mindfulness-based stress reduction, density increased in regional gray matter of the brain, which is associated with learning and memory, emotional regulation, sense of self, and perspective taking. Through meditation's ability to combat pain, boredom, thoughts, and negativity, by being mindful, one can effectively lead a happier life.